Yeah, really disappointing for Burnley, isn't it, Ash?
It is, yeah, because they seemed to be adrift for so long, so many months, and then lately they've given themselves a chance. But I just think they come up against a strong Newcastle team today. I think that it was the difference in quality was too much for Burnley, and I think that's probably the downfall of the whole season. The one thing I would say is, I feel like they could probably bounce back up, and Championship's a difficult league, but I do think that they almost have a Championship team and squad, I think, that's suited to that, so they might be able to bounce back up. But today, it feels like a shame because they was probably in a position where we was all starting to say, and at the start of the day we were saying, can they do it? Can they take it to that last game of the season against Nottingham Forest? Well, not really, I don't think so. Not looking at it today, but given that Newcastle were very good, were very impressive.
And they've done that before, of course. They got relegated, then they came back up under Sean Dyche. Just take a look at the remaining fixtures as well. It is going to be pretty tense, of course, for Luton Town as well. But when you look at that, you realise, Fara, just how big that win was for Nottingham Forest today.
A huge win. They knew that Sheffield United were relegated, nothing to play for, which can make the game even more difficult. But they knew they needed all 3 points from that game to give them, that little bit of an advantage over the three that are pushing, certainly Luton and Burnley. But I think that 3 points today is probably there or thereabouts kept them in the Premier League. I can't see, Burnley beating Tottenham. I think that the last game of the season against Forest, I think will be too much for them, and Luton's fixtures with West Ham and Fulham will be very difficult.
They're tough games, aren't they? West Ham away even for Luton.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all them games, Jason. There's no easy game when you're in the bottom three or the bottom four, should we say? There's no easy games. The other thing you would say as well was if you look at the goal difference. Nottingham Forest, it's like an extra point at this time of the season. If they get level in points, I think that's like an extra point. So in essence, they're nearly 4 points clear from the bottom three. So today, you can't state how big enough that result today was. Absolutely massive for Nottingham Forest, and they've given themselves a real chance now of Premier League football next season.
We were at the City Ground at the start of the season. We took Match of the Day 2 on the road against Brentford, and the one thing about the City Ground, it was absolutely rocking that day. That was Brentford. Imagine what it's going to be like for Chelsea.
Yeah, it's a massive football club. We all know how big Nottingham Forest is and the history that they've got. And I enjoyed many an away game there where the atmosphere was amazing. So it will be. But if you're Rob Edwards, maybe you're saying that if we win our next game against West Ham, looking at the other two teams and looking at Forest and they slip up, it goes into the last day of the season. He's not counting himself out either. But I just feel that with Forest getting the 3 points today, Luton getting 1 point last night, it's now in Forest's hands and they'll probably get the job done and be safe.
And that will mean the three teams that were promoted last season are back down. It's not great for the Premier League or for the Championship, that is it, Fara?
It's not great, but I think it shows the gap. And I think the teams that are coming up from the Championship this year are probably more suited to the Premier League. The likes of Leicester, potentially it could, we've seen Ipswich come up. That one will be an interesting one in the summer, but then you've got the likes of Southampton and Leeds and potentially West Brom. So, those teams are probably more suited to the Premier League. I don't think the teams that come up were quite suited. We've seen Sheffield United kind of up and down. Burnley, they stayed in the Premier League for a long time, but really fought down the bottom. So I just think it shows the gap in the levels between Championship and Premier League now.
And the other thing, of course, is the other Championship teams who are in there at the moment, who will be there next season, are probably thinking, oh man, we got Sheffield United and Burnley coming back down now, who would possibly dominate next season as well.
Yeah, I think Ash made a good point about Burnley going down. You would if they do go down. Obviously, it's not guaranteed yet, but I think they would boss the Championship. The way they played, the way they came back up, 2 years ago. The way they played and the way Vincent Kompany and Craig Bellamy wants these teams to play through the lanes, keeping lots of possession stuff. I think if they can keep the nucleus of this squad together, if they do go down, then I do fancy them to come straight back up.